everybody, and welcome to another edition of Joe's Rocha podcast. Another week, another guest. Let's get this thing going. All right. Now, remember, before we get started, as always, click that like and subscribe button. Doesn't matter what platform you're on, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anything. Subscribe. And then find us on Facebook. Send us a message. Love to hear from everybody. All right. Now, this episode is brought to you by SA Hot Rod Media. Once again, guys, if you've got a shop and you want to get your name out there and you need a bit of help with social media, give us a call. We help with videos, content management, and all that type of stuff. So you guys don't have to. So yeah, we're actually running a bunch of shops around the country already. And they're getting some good responses. Also, remember, if you have a shop, or a car shop or something, and you want to be on the show, if you want to talk to us about cars and what you do in the cars you build, you just want to have a general chat and talk car, this is the platform. This is what we want to do. So yeah, go into my website, sahotrods.com, click the I want to be on the podcast button, and let us know, and we'll get in touch, and let's see if we can get you guys on the show. Right. Now, on to today's show. All right, so Car Magazine has been one of the longest running magazines in South Africa, Car Magazine. I mean, we all grew up with it as kids. And Sudhir was actually the associate editor for Car Magazine for years. And then a few years ago, he left and he started a thing called Double Apex. Coolest logo ever. And he's on the show today, and he's talking to us about his career as a motoring journalist, how he got to Double Apex, and where it's all going. So yes, sit back, relax, grab a glass of wine. It's going to be fun.
How's that?
Perfect. Cheers, by the way.
Cheers.
You guys always make me look so bad on the show. Everyone always drinking
wine. Because you're drinking wine.
I always drink wine, bro. Always drink wine.
Nice.
I had some left over. So yeah.
What is leftover wine?
It's when you hide it from your wife.
So I've never heard of this concept, leftover wine.
Exactly. Thanks for being on the show, man.
The flame okay?
Yeah, flame. Everything looks awesome. Dude, I love that shirt, dude. Is that one of your double AP?
Yeah, it's one of my hoodies. Yeah.
Those are really, really cool. Really cool.
Yeah, we have them in the shop.
Is it? You can tell us all about that now.
Cool stuff.
Definitely.
Tell me when you want to start, okay?
Well, let's get started, man. Thanks for being on the show. First, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me on, mate. My name is Sudhir Matai. Some people know me as Banzai Matai. I am the founder / owner / T-boy and go-getter and driver at Double Apex, which is a multi-faceted automotive portal.
I like
just a fancy way of saying that I do everything for myself.
Dude, I like the site, by the way. Love the content.
Thank you very much.
Since you actually started it, I've been following it and that type of stuff. So I really, really love it. But before we
good to hear, man.
Yeah, before we get into that, you used to work with car. Is that where the whole motoring journalist thing started, or where did it all start for you?
Yeah, it goes a bit further back than that. Prior to Car Mag, I was a Drive magazine. You may remember it was an automotive title that was very popular in the 90s. It's a great mag. In fact, it in many ways was ahead of its time, because the guys who started Drive Mag, many of whom are still around and I'm friends with now, saw a gap in the market to do the more entertaining and high performance stuff that other mags weren't doing. So they did some really cool stuff way back when, potentially, as I said, ahead of their time. I used to follow the mag quite a bit, and I used to freelance when I first started, and I used to submit work to them, hoping to get featured. And I did once or twice, and then I went on to freelance a bit. and I got a job with them in 2003, I think it was, and I worked there for a couple of years in Chatsworth. And then from Drive Magazine, I applied and got the gig at CarMag, where I was for 13 years.
Oh, wow, dude. That's a lifetime being in the industry, eh? I mean, I know just being in the industry for 10 years is actually, but I mean, for 13 years with the magazine, it just shows how long car magazine's actually been out there. I mean, and how was that? I mean, working, because I mean, you were what's it, associate editor at one stage even, weren't you?
That's right. Yeah, I was associate editor. I joined there at a sort of mid-level position. It's just sort of a step down below the deputy ed. So the structure was ed, deputy, and then it was myself. So a pretty decent position there for many, many years, and doing just about everything that the ed and the deputy ed did, short of signing everybody's checks.
Yeah.
So I traveled extensively, often more than the editors, because they tend to spend their time at their desks, proofreading stuff and looking at layouts and liaising between the different departments at work, between layout and finance and advertising team and all sorts of things, which then gave me the let's say the freedom to do a bit more than those guys were doing at any one time.
So they got the admin and you got the fun stuff. Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. Well, you say fun, but yes, it was fun, and you can't hide from that fact that it was and is a great deal of fun. There's a bit of work to do once you're back in the office, typically, and in later years, that actually became work to do while you were still on location.
Yeah.
Once high-speed internet became a commonplace in hotels, and then later even on our phones.
Then you don't have an excuse not to submit it that same night.
Correct.
And we can get this way faster now.
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of times I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I tend to write pretty quickly. And if there was a launch event very close deadline, my editors would say, okay, well, we'll send him because he can turn it around really quickly.
Yeah.
So there I'd be driving a car today, going back to the hotel, skipping out on dinner, back to my room, onto my laptop to write the story, to fire it off back to the office. Before I'd eaten dinner that night.
It always amazed me from a magazine perspective how everyone had their own style when it came to like submitting and doing their work. When I had SA Hot Rods, we had documents that we used to send out to the guys where we had questions that we wanted them to answer, and over the years I kind of got that down to a point where you place your questions in a way so when they answer it, as long as they don't go yes or no or one word answers, you could basically write a story from there. And then I would take that, read that, and then phone the guy and then ask him extra questions, you said this, what do you mean? But my process was always, I would go through this process, but I wouldn't write the story at that point. I would phone the guy, make a few notes, and then I'd leave it. And I always said it's like, I would leave it in my brain to mogul, so my brain can start working on what I want to do. And then a few days, like I said, just before deadline, you like sit down, laptop, coffee, and you just bomb out 5 or 6 articles in one shoot.
Yeah.
But working with car to me is a magazine that showed how print evolved over the years, and I think I've said it in the show a few times. What got me with Car Magazine was when the internet really started kicking in and new car articles are coming out. By the time I got to car and printed, the content was already online. People have already seen photos. So I always wanted to take my hat off to Car Magazine, how they then went, well, okay, now what can we do? If we can't be the first one that's going to show someone the new Ferrari or the new this or the new Hilux. What are we going to do now to get that readership back in? And
Yeah.
you guys did a great job. Absolutely great job
Yeah.
with putting cars up
And
against each other and keeping that momentum still going.
so the unfortunate side effect of being such a large mag was that the print lead time was very long.
Mm.
When I got there, six, I think car was printing something like 140,000 copies.
Yes.
And nobody else in South Africa was printing that many pages. There's
Mm.
140,000 copies times 250,
It's
260
huge.
pages, I think it was. Is a massive number if you do the math, right?
Yeah.
So it took a long time to print it, which meant we had to have it ready early. So then, as you were saying earlier on, we had to arrange cars in advance. We had to do something different. We had to go out and get, competitor cars and arrange rivals and do competitive tests, which was a lot of logistics and a lot of
Mm.
arranging. In latter years, my time there actually was doing a lot of that. I was in charge of the fleet, so I would arrange the cars and I'd make the phone calls. Often it's a car that some manufacturer didn't have in their fleet any longer,
Yeah.
so you had to make a plan and call them, or you had to call
Or there was a
call in
problem
a
with the
favor.
car. Yeah, exactly. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I think the amount of times I came and fetched cars from Car Magazine too, so we could do
yeah,
features and talk about something or work with something and stuff from you guys was insane. Because I
yeah,
always got upset because you guys always got first option. Yeah, I always felt like you
yeah.
guys
It
had
was,
first option.
I think there was many years of the industry trusting the guys that work there. Whether it was me or and guys who came before me, they
Yeah,
just built a very strong reputation. Um, the I always say to people when we got there, we were handed this baton by people who had run very far and run very fast to
yeah,
hand it to you. And it was imperative that you then carried it with speed and with honor going forward. Because I got there and car had just turned 50. So there were 50 years prior to me of guys working hard, creating good content, holding up integrity.
mm,
When I left there, Carmack had already turned 60.
exactly.
Um, so we hopefully we carried the baton with honor to a lot of people, and the landscape's changed now, and there's a lot more going on. There are a lot of options for people. The speed and the rest the voracious nature of producing content these days mean that
Yeah,
people will consume it almost faster than you can produce it.
exactly. That's why there's constantly such a massive demand for content. Um, and
Yeah.
during I remember during lockdown, guys were saying it wasn't more because no one was creating content. People didn't even care anymore if it was good content. They just wanted content. They just needed something that they could get out there, to keep the number. And I think that caused just havoc everywhere.
So I saw, my website's been going now for 3 years,
Mm,
and at the start of 2020, just when lockdown had started, I started to see a rise in web traffic
mm,
to numbers I hadn't experienced before, and I was like, wow, this is great. So I started to produce content primarily for guys, people, who were at home uh, and not going to work and wanting to read car stuff. So I produced massive content in a short space of time for people to consume while
mm.
they weren't working. So I see this massive rise in traffic over sort of 4 to 6, 7 weeks, and it was great. So that I could go up and approach advertisers and say to them, "Hey, man, my site does these kind of numbers. You guys should be here," which was fantastic
Yeah,
for me because people do it. Then just well, okay, your
yeah,
site's growing and where you want to be, and I brought on board a number of advertisers, and then people realize, hang on, we can't go back to work, but we have to work.
yeah.
And when people started to work at home and set up their offices, and then eventually when lockdown eased a little, then I did see a slight decline in viewership, but thankfully the numbers have stayed up to levels higher than they were pre-lockdown. So
Exactly.
I gained a little bit. I don't say it's a victory because it came because of what caused it, but it's interesting to see the changing
but
landscape.
but to me that makes sense. Look, and
Yeah,
also you create good content. I mean,
thank
your
you very much.
articles are great written. The stuff that you do is informative. You've got a lot of stuff coming in from the overseas, so you're not just focusing here. But
Yeah,
what I liked about it was local. You kind of started paving the way where, look, there's other sites that's also obviously doing online content with motoring and this type of stuff. If we look at like the 1320s and all these type of guys, but you were
yeah,
the first one that really started putting your brand down as a South African site. um and to me and you were gaining ground and you were growing, and obviously people staying at home made a difference because it gave people the time to look and to actually go
yeah,
sit and read. It wasn't just I mean, obviously with a print background, we from printing people doing content for print or doing content for online, we've learned that online content is way shorter than print content.
mm,
You've got such a short attention span to try and get the person in, and there's so much that goes into it, from what images you use to the first few sentences in the article that you need to write that needs to get that person's attention long enough so he reads the whole thing.
sure. Yeah,
um, and people don't understand from a writer's perspective and from a content creating perspective, that's completely different to what we were used to in print. In print, we like, as long as the photos are cool, man, this is a great story. This is a 5-pager,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's
5 pages. Yeah,
yeah, and then it's informative and you're getting there. And like I said, and you started bridging that gap. You got it in, and that was great. Like I said, that was great to me to see your brand starting to build up from and getting the recognition. But you started adding more in. You started getting more writers and stuff in as well.
yeah. So I started as a one man band completely. I was generating way too much copy that I'd go to bed every night with sore eyes and completely bloodshot, and then
Mm,
get up in the morning and start all over again, and then realize it wasn't worth just churning out the volume. I was trying to get some proper quality in there.
mm,
So I'm fortunate in that I have many friends in the industry, guys I've met and worked alongside, or traveled with abroad, because we've got a couple of international writers on the website, motoring journalists from other parts of the world, and we've maintained good friendships and good relationships with the guys for many years. You probably know that CarMag has been in this massive state of flux and churn over the last 2 years or 3 years in terms of their staff. So a couple of very good experienced guys have ended
mm.
up on the open market, and I've given some of them the platform and said, listen, I've got Double Apex, it's there. When you have something to say and you don't have anywhere else to plant it,
Yeah.
come talk to me. We could use it. A couple of guys I worked with there, so I talk to them regularly. I've got an incredible guy who writes my Formula One reports.
Mm.
He is he's a nuclear scientist who
Nice.
who is the most bizarre thing for me. Is like he works in this incredibly technical and specific field. This highly specialized guy, and he watches Formula One to relax, and he has this incredible knowledge base, this encyclopedic knowledge base of Formula One info, and his recall is just incredible. So almost everything that this guy writes, he's taken straight out of his head.
Yeah.
And he will talk about just a racetrack that no one's ever heard of in the middle of Switzerland or middle of Sicily, and I'd have to go and look it up to just for my own sake, and there it was, Scarfiotti won at Pergusa in Sicily in 1942 in a Maserati. I'm like, did he really though? And then let me go and look this up, and there's the story. And this guy's probably dragged this out of his memory banks
Yeah.
to write a report. So he does a Formula One report for me every Sunday. and we get it up live probably 30 minutes to an hour after the race is done.
Wow.
And that sometimes is not his doing, because he delivers things really quickly, and then I got to go off and find good quality imagery, get it on the site, do the SEO, and then start sharing it on social media.
Yeah.
So that guy is quite incredible, and I'm very thankful to him. He's a very good friend of mine. He's an ex-Capetonian as well, and now lives in Switzerland, so he can further his career.
Oh, wow.
And he does all our Formula One stuff. Yeah, he's an incredible guy, Nick van der Meulen. So we do a lot of work with him. He's fantastic. Ian McLaren, the ex-car guy, he does some work with us, and a couple of other people, as you said, some international writers.
Now, I wanted to say, moving away from car, and now you've got your own thing. Do you feel like it gave you a bit more freedom, from a writing perspective, and, how you feel about cars and, the industry and all this type of stuff?
Interesting question. I think I had gotten to a point in my career previously where, I could say what I wanted to, and I had really good relationships with the people in the industry. I think having built that up has allowed me to pursue Double Apex as a standalone, a business of my own. So it hasn't really changed my outlook on the industry. I obviously I fulfill the role now of business owner rather than journalist. So I do have to approach sometimes advertising agencies or OEMs and their marketing departments,
which means the worst part of the
job. It's always a tricky one. If you ask me, would I rather be driving a sports car on a racetrack in Portugal versus sitting in a meeting talking about your ad spend for the year going ahead? You know which one I choose every day of the week, right?
Sitting with some agency person who knows absolutely nothing about the brand and the car that you're dealing with, having a conversation, and they're going, "Oh, we're going here," and all you want to do is shake them and go, "Why?"
Yeah. No, I've had a few eye-widening moments in meetings, and I think to myself, "Wow, this person works here, and they have no clue what they're talking about." Like, you shouldn't have got this job if you didn't do some homework
exactly
regarding the history of this brand.
Right.
Which is
it's
really sad for me.
I actually in my career, I've received phone calls from marketing companies who's landed a brand and then phoned me and went, "Hi, we know absolutely nothing about this. We want to do this?" And they start explaining, and you're like, "Wow, you have got it so wrong."
It wouldn't be so funny if it weren't completely true.
And you just got to wonder who at the company signed off on this agency. And you're like,
"Yep.
Did you not think that maybe they should, I don't like cars?" Or at least
maybe, yeah, at the very least, yeah. At very least.
It's
I've had a couple of those phone calls. Someone sent me a set of documents once and said, "We have a client and they landed a deal for this car brand, and we need to spice up this copy to make it more appealing to car enthusiasts." And I was like, did someone actually write this? It was as though they asked you to describe a meal that you had never tasted.
Yeah.
And I was like, who wrote this? And they were like, "No, one of our in-house copywriters." Oh, wow.
Wow.
Wow. That's all I could say was just wow. I was blown away. And as you say, somebody at HQ gave the go-ahead for this company to get the deal.
Oh no, I had a company, and I'm not going to name names, phoned me the one day and said, "So you do custom cars?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I still had my shop, and they're like, "Well, we've got this car that we want to do something with because we got it for the cars towards the young market, but the young market doesn't like it. Can you come up with something, to improve it? I'm like,
Yeah.
drop it off at my shop. And I think I had it for 3 weeks. And they came back to me and they said, and can you do something? I went, no. They're
No.
like, why? It's that horrible.
Yeah, you can't
I
just
said,
make it appealing to young people. Yeah.
I'd say, I know what you guys are. You're gonna do a watered down version. Why don't you just put a sticker on it? Because you're not going to increase the horsepower or anything that we want, or the wheels aren't going to be bigger, and there's not going to be a cool.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. And they're like, sure, don't you want to do it with your? I'm like, no, I don't want my name anyway. Don't worry, no, it's fine. You can move on.
Yeah,
We'll
don't put my name near this.
Yeah, there's not enough money to make this happen. So yeah. So where are you going now? What's the next step for Double Apex? What's the goal?
Funnily enough, the content side of Double Apex was step 2. Step 1 was our clothing brand. As
I remember that. Yeah,
you commented earlier on. Yeah.
I like that shirt, bro.
I mean, this you have to be in a hoodie in Cape Town in winter, and this thing is so warm that you can't wait any other time of year. So nice. I've just got a t-shirt on and I've got this on, and it's 10 degrees in Cape Town right now. So we started as a clothing label, 2015.
Why a clothing label? Because I've dealt in clothing with car stuff, with the hot rod stuff, and I stopped because it became a business all on its own, which I then didn't want, because it had more issues for me than actually owning a magazine. I was trying to run clothes, with shipments and t-shirt prints and sizing and orders and this type of stuff. I'm like, I know. So I just closed it down completely.
You don't have to tell me. I know exactly. Yeah, t-shirt sizes and shipments and delays and print runs. I know all about that stuff, and have too many spreadsheets to show for it. The clothing label started as a way to fund my racing. So you can see up there.
I can see there. Yes.
My race car. I had a job at the time, so I was getting a paycheck, and I wanted to go racing. And I thought to myself, well, actually, I had been racing for a season. I'd done a full season of Polo Cup at the national level, and I finished that season. And I thought, man, I got to keep doing this. This is incredible. I'd never raced properly. So just karting and a couple of track days, that sort of thing. But when you get to a proper race series, decent cars, close competition, the heat of battle, qualifying, these things, it's just tough to describe to someone that's never done it, but racing is properly addictive. So I'd done a season, and then I waited 2 years, and I saved up, and I bought that the Mazda I was showing you over my shoulder there, that MX-5. And then I thought to myself, okay, I want to go racing. This is a good car to go racing with. And I didn't want to dip into my paycheck too much to do it. And I had an idea for a car / automotive clothing label many years, and I'd never acted on it. And suddenly I thought to myself, hang on, let me try this. Spend a little bit, and if we make some money, whatever we make, we plow back into the race car. And the clothing label was partway between genuine race gear, so like your frontline race kit, that kind of stuff, and your very generic I don't want to say consumer wear, it's not fair, but your generic car stuff. They just had sort of an outline of a car, like a VW Beetle,
silhouette or something.
That very simple stuff that you could buy sort of at a surf shop, or you could buy at a mainstream retailer.
And
I want
He's
something
not.
that's
He's not saying that one you buy at the shop that's got the wrong car with the wrong year and the wrong
yeah.
everything.
Exactly. Now you with me. Now you with me. I don't want to name names. We've seen the shocking designs that come out of some retailers.
Yeah.
And I wanted something that spoke directly to the petrol heads. So funny stuff usually, but a slogan with a graphic that when you wore it, and our stuff gets worn very often to the racetrack, but when you wore it and somebody else saw it, they knew that you were a petrol head. So only people who understood it wore it.
Yeah.
You had to be in the know. So we did a couple of designs. We mocked up a couple of designs, and we didn't even produce a single item. We just advertised.
Yeah.
And I had such great response that we went ahead and we produced our first run. I think we did 4 or 6 designs, and they all just flew. They were gone out the window, out the door in a matter of days. They were mostly disappeared. And I took the proceeds from that initial sale. I invested some back into the business, and the rest of it I used to then go racing.
Yeah.
Which was the initial idea behind the brand. So I started to race the Mazda at Killarney in a club series, and while we were doing that, I was still working and I was still progressing with Double Apex.
Yeah.
So after we had set up a Facebook page and got going with some promotion, I set up a website just for added visibility. So the website was there, and it sort of just ticked over. It was very static. It just had a couple of designs on, and if you wanted to order, you had to make contact with us by Facebook anyway. And then when I left car, I had the website, the URL, doubleapex.co.za. I had my entire network of people that I knew in the automotive industry, my knowledge base.
Your leaving of car, that was a quick thing. I remember you. You guys, that was, you guys did not see that coming at all.
No, it was. It was what it was.
What it was. I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable position, dude. Don't worry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. The company got taken over, and the new owners had their own idea as to how the place should be run and who should be involved.
Yeah.
And we weren't part of their plan. So, they wanted us out, and they removed a lot of
great
the experience and the knowledge base. I'd rather you say it than me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
trust me, everybody in print motoring industry actually sat back and went, "What the fuck just happened?"
I've heard that.
Everybody was like, "Wow," because it was like a vacuum. I mean, I've worked with a lot of, being in Cape Town. You can't work in motoring and journalism and this type of stuff and not come across car people. Okay, that's just designer. I mean, I've had car design, ex-designers and everything that we've been working with. So I remember it was just, it was such a shock that when everything changed. And look, to us, obviously, we weren't sitting there. It came so quickly more than anything else. To be honest, I didn't even think that car was going to survive another year or two after that,
Yeah, it was an interesting one. That brand had been built on a reputation of technical and automotive expertise. As an example, when I got there, I was the youngest guy in the office.
Yeah.
With the least amount of experience. I think, if we did the math, the cumulative experience across our team must have been like 160 or 180 years.
Exactly.
In the automotive space and in the automotive media space. Because we had guys there, we had a writer who was an engineer. We had a guy who worked at Ford South Africa. We had, no jokes, a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
Our test engineer was an ex-Denel rocket propulsion specialist. Jake Fenter, a tech guy who's now way past retired, and I think he's actually moved out of South Africa. he worked, all over the automotive space, to the tune of bench testing engines in a dyno cell for 2 days nonstop. Mike Monk was instrumental in the development of the Ford XR8.
Yeah.
A legendary machine like that. So the guys knew their stuff, and when you arrive there, you better know your stuff too, or you better start learning.
Exactly.
And the guys knew the industry inside and out. Car was built on road testing, independent road testing, and I recall doing gearing calculations on cars for in-geared speeds after we'd go road testing, and I would use the formula. So I'd use all the inputs and use the formula. And there were guys in my office who used to work from first principles, not even using the formula. They used to sit with a calculator and do the gearing calculations with a pen, a piece of paper, and a calculator. And I sat there, and, wow, this is incredible, And here I thought I was lazy using just the Excel spreadsheet and plugging in the numbers, And I'd be shocked if you found many guys in the industry these days who could tell you what a gearbox is in one sentence.
Well, these days it just looks like the guys. I feel like I'm gonna get punished to it. It's like you're reading more press releases, as in from the manufacturer. It's not the journalist point of views anymore, more than anything else. That's what it feels like.
From the space has changed a lot.
Yeah, it has. That it has. But now, dude, big thing is you guys step up. I mean, you had everything, you had all the elements and stuff, and I look at it as, to me, everything's a step moving forward. You look at, I did this for 14 years, but it's leading me to there. At least you had the option to build more than anything else, and you've got the knowledge and everything. And like I said, I'm actually completely flabbergasted saying about the journalists and stuff, because I've immediately got more respect now for the old journalist than anything else going into it. Forward.
It's we had to, as you say, step up. We had to reinvent. Some of the other guys are doing some incredible stuff. If you look around, the video content being produced, the stories, the use of social media, the guys have really, really quickly reinvented themselves or embraced what's around to try and be competitive in this new space.
Exactly.
I think it's probably not unique to this industry, but the longer you've been here, the harder it is to embrace the new tech. Obviously. So if, as an example, I've seen it quite markedly in social media. So I started using Facebook a few years after it came out. So I learned how to use it. I use it for the business. I use it for myself. And then Twitter came along. And there were guys who jumped into Twitter thinking, why should I go to Facebook? I'll use this new platform. And they learned it and learned how to use it and make it work for them.
Yeah.
And then Instagram came along. And then a bunch of people jumped Instagram, but some people didn't leave Twitter.
Yeah.
Now I'm staying with Twitter, and a bunch of people went over to Instagram and they did well.
Mm.
And now we've got TikTok.
Oh man, I was watching
YouTube.
I was talking to Dan Kahn. He's from Kahn Media in the US. And I think we had a meeting, and he's like, yeah, okay, and now guys need to go on TikTok. And I'm like, shit, another one again.
Yeah.
God, and
it's crazy.
And like it, but I think the problem that guys then think they think you need to be great on all of them. And I don't know. I don't like Twitter. I struggle with. I don't. It's just too much and too little, and I don't really care about what so much happening in the world. Instagram, like I said, it makes more sense, but I don't know. You kind of have to look at who's your target market and where they're sitting, and then that's the one that you need to focus on. Because what I think a lot of guys don't understand is, yeah, there's all these things, but they all have their certain social group and the interaction. They're all actually completely different in the same way. It all depends on what target market you want to reach more than anything else. Yeah.
So, it keeps bringing up the questions because every time there's a new toy, the marketers flock to it.
Oh yeah.
So, oh, you've got 25 now. How many Instagram fans have you got? Oh, I've got 2,000 there. Oh, that's not enough. You should have 25,000. And when somebody gets 25, they go, oh, well, that's not enough. How many TikTok followers do you have? And then the next, the next thing is going to be Spiral, or it's going to be, Crunch, or it's going to be some other silly name thing. And they're going to go, oh, well, we don't really care about Instagram numbers anymore.
Yes.
How many fans do you have on Crunch?
Exactly.
And then you're gonna go, well, we're not on Crunch, so where does it stop?
Exactly. Exactly. Where does it stop? That's a very.
I feel like there's no end, because tomorrow someone just invents something new. When some Silicon Valley tech head decides what we should do is we should have a short video content that allows you to stream stuff into people's brains for 3 seconds at a time, and we'll sell ad space on that, then everyone's going to flock to that. Then you're doing 3-second videos, not 30-second videos, or not 30-minute videos that YouTube just requires,
But from the same point of view, okay. So now you take someone like yourself, okay, experienced person in the industry, okay, as a proper motoring journalist, you've built a reputation. People don't just listen to you or followers. Your followers aren't just there because of anything. They trust your point of view when it comes to you talking about cars, what's coming out, and this type of stuff. So now you're sitting, and let's say you're sitting on 25,000, but you've got a person going and to the same marketing company, and they're sitting with 200,000 followers, but they know fuck all about cars. Okay, they know nothing about the industry. There's absolutely nothing. All they do is they have friends with supercars, so they have photos next to Lambos, and they're approaching the same company that you are. Yeah, you would struggle to get the contract, but is that maybe I'm doing this wrong? Is that where we're sitting at the moment? Is that someone like that is way easier to get every money thrown behind them?
You're not far from the truth. I mean, guys have built entire careers out of taking pictures of other people's cars.
Yeah.
Or, sharing enough content that isn't theirs, that they haven't generated, on a platform they don't own. I asked someone once, because they asked me which social media platform should I be on if I want to get cars to test. And I'm like, well, nowadays you simply have to be on all of them if you plan to make any headway. But what happens if all of them fall over?
You don't even have to be good at it.
You don't have to be good at it. No.
I mean, Supercar Blonde. What's it? Blonde. Supercar Blonde.
Yeah.
I can't stand her stuff. Okay. And I don't care anyone say. I got to the point where if someone shares anything of hers, I delete them off my profile. Okay. She annoys me that much. All right.
Yeah.
To me, I don't. Maybe it's because I'm not that big into supercars and hypercars, but it just holds no water for me at all.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I've had this discussion with a couple of manufacturers, and I say to them, you're welcome to engage with someone who's got 25 or 50 or 100,000 Instagram followers. And the questions we have to ask ourselves is, how many of those people, of those followers, are into cars, firstly?
Exactly.
And does the person creating the content have a firm grasp of the info they're providing?
Yeah.
And I've seen some shockers from people who have attended the same launches that I have. So it's not like I heard it secondhand, or I saw it posted somewhere, or I read a story. I've been to events where people just don't digest the information because they don't understand the information.
Exactly.
So, they would post incorrect information, and that's going out to the public as fact.
Yes.
And you think, okay, you've got X number of followers, 100,000 followers, whatever. They all believe you. They follow you because they want to see what you're doing and they believe you. But you share information that is patently incorrect, but now it's fact. So I can't tell you the number of times I've had people quote other people's social media accounts as fact.
Wow.
And I wrote a story not too long ago, and somebody messaged on our Facebook page and said, hey, you've got that power figure wrong, because I read it on this page that the power figure is this number.
Yeah.
And I said to them, hey, thanks very much for reading our story and for noting the number. But I got my information directly from the source.
Yeah.
It's arrived from a manufacturer spec sheet.
Yes.
And I'll gladly send it to you. And the person who wrote that piece of information, the one that you're quoting, has the same spec sheet.
Yes.
Because because they were mailed, they were mailed to us, but they didn't understand that this car didn't, in reality, have 1,500 Newton meters of torque, but it had 150. But they were quoting it as fact.
Yes.
I'm just using an example, but that was sort of the crux of it, was they didn't understand what they're writing.
Yes. No, that's true. That's true. But it's the problem is it's. Did you ever watch that series Newsroom?
I think I may have caught a couple episodes somewhere.
Oh man, you got to watch the first episode. I think it's still some of the most beautiful opening to a TV show ever.
I'll have a look for it.
But it comes down to the fact that it's not about the facts anymore. It's about who's first, who gets it out first.
Yeah.
And to me that made it scary. That's look, and the difference between our lines. I mean, from me and my industry with hot rods, I can go post an article from 10 years ago, and it's interesting. Because hot rods are timeless, where a lot of your stuff, well, actually not that much anymore, because look, it is all about who's got the latest Porsche and what's the latest that's coming out. But I think people like the content even where you can go post the article on the first XR8 when it came out. And you still got nostalgic people that's going to want to go out and go read that more than anything else, or the MX5s or all these type of stuff, because we've grown up now where we actually been associated with these cars and they've become a part of us and part of our lives.
I think increasingly there's this move towards classic and historic car content, because one, simple math is that modern cars are expensive.
Yeah.
Particularly the modern cars that we lust after.
Yeah.
So the anything with a performance slant or something that's roofless or rear wheel drive, those things are expensive these days. You can't buy decent performance car for was it 500K? Let's call it roughly.
Exactly.
An MX-5 is a crap load of money. It's very expensive, and this is a South African problem more than a car problem, because in other parts of the world, cars are relatively affordable. That's why they still sell in such numbers. So the trend towards classic motoring and motorsport seems to be growing, and I think we'll see that increase as there is increased automation and electrification
Yes.
of the automotive industry. So, electric cars have their benefits and their pros, of which there are many. And
Well, I read the article you guys put. What VW? No, nothing. What's it? Only electric from what's it? 2035?
2035, I think the
Is it
date was.
2035? Eh?
2035, I think it is. Yeah, Audi as well. They're going to pull the plug on all their ICE powered cars. So I think anyone who likes cars, anyone who appreciates cars, the oily bits, who likes getting their hands dirty, you and I enjoys racing and tinkering with cars, we will continue to support and enjoy classic motoring. And I think this current generation and potentially the one behind it, still love cars the way that you and I did, and our dads and those around us.
I don't think
guys would rather take an Uber to get somewhere, than drive themselves.
Some moron has gone and put the idea into people's head that a car is something that takes you from A to B. Okay. that's my perspective. Someone's gone to some hippie and said, well, car is only supposed to get you from A and B, and it's not. It's a part of our personality, it's part of our lives. But I think it's because everything's changed. I mean, I still think back on, and we think back of road trips that we did with family and going places, and working on a car with your dad, and washing the car together, and all that. There was like so much in the family went around the car, and all of a sudden it just became this thing that just sits there. It's supposed to just get you somewhere, and we're like, no,
that Saturday morning at my folks' house was car washing morning.
Yeah,
once the car was clean, it went in the garage for a good old rally wax polish, bit of a vacuum.
I mean, my kids are very small at the moment, and I still do that. I do on Saturdays and Sundays. I try to get them in because I want that car loving experience in, and because I'm still one of those dads who don't touch the window, never touch a window ever. I think I've never touched a car window in my life.
Yeah.
But listen, I know I'm keeping you for too long, but I feel like I could talk for you for days. But dude, listen, all the best with Apex. Great job, man. And you better send me a t-shirt at some point so I can wear it on the show proudly. So I think the Americans what's going on as well.
That's a good plan.
That is a good plan.
Can I plug the website?
Oh, go. Plug away everything you want.
So we're on the web on doubleapex.co.za. That's DOUBLEAPEX.co.za. We're also on Instagram, DBLAPX SA on Instagram and Facebook. So we're very active on Facebook. We share a lot of our content there. We engage with our readers and our fans. We have a very small YouTube channel. There's not a lot of stuff on there, but we like to update it. There's a couple of videos with me. There's a cool video. Actually, you must have a look at it. There's a cool custom car, classic car video that we did a week before lockdown last. Nice. It was like days before. I clearly recall we were talking about how bad COVID was getting and the likelihood of it coming to South Africa.
Yeah.
And I think that was the 20th of March. And on the 26th of March, we went into lockdown nationwide. Exactly. Yeah.
Two things I need to remember. One, send me all the links. So when we post these things out, we're going to put all your links in. We're going to put all your tags and all your links everywhere. Two, go on to Amazon Prime. Jamie Clarkson has got a new show out on Amazon Prime called Clarkson's Farm.
Oh, I've heard about this. I've seen a couple of reports on some of the automotive international websites.
It's brilliant. It's
funny.
It is. It is. He's such a character. But the thing I love is because it follows him through a whole year of farming. Okay.
Right. Which should be quite funny.
It is because he brings that humor that he's got and that power. I mean, he's got a Lamborghini tractor, but like a proper one. Nice. That's way too big to use in the area.
Nice.
but he sits where in the show is where COVID starts, and
Oh, wow.
where, because I mean, sitting with the farmers, and then I think he's driving in his tractor, and people start talking about it, and everyone's like, yeah, it's not gonna.
Won't come here, won't come here.
Yeah. I mean, I was sitting because I spoke to Dan Khan just after lockdown, and then like towards the end of last year, and we like it was so funny because we were all like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. See you at SEMA, it's gonna be great, and it's two months top, and yeah. We're almost a year and a half.
It's 15 months later, hey.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's still
crazy,
going,
man.
But listen, let me get going. I need to get my kids to bed as well. So thank you so much.
It's been fun. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It was cool.
We should do this again. Listen, are you going to
chat again? Yeah.
Are you doing Samoa hill climb?
The hill climb. I thought about it. I've got a couple of mates going. In fact, I chatted with a guy today who was on your show previously. He's building that V12 Hilux.
Oh yeah, Francois Fritz.
Francois. Yeah, I had a chat with him early on, which is very interesting because he's building a V12 Hilux with the Toyota motor.
Yes, V12 twin turbo. Yeah.
And I shared with him a link from my website of a Quantum in Cape Town with that same engine.
What?
It's a Quantum taxi.
Oh, I gotta see
with
that.
The V12. It's on my website. I'll send you the link.
Okay, send me the link.
Quantum with a V12 with 2 turbos. And I say to him, so you're doing something similar to this? And he responds and he says to me, I've actually seen your article before, and that Quantum is part of the inspiration for my book.
That is so cool.
And that story I did ages ago. I did that story. You know, I met the guys for like an hour. I saw the van, had a chat to them on the phone. I went past their shop, took a couple of pictures, man. You know, that story I did, it took me all of half a day to piece the whole thing together. It was a fun story, but the car wasn't quite ready at the time. They still had a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, I'll just do this update. I'll throw the story up and, you know, see how it goes. It is to date one of the biggest stories on the entire website.
What? No, but that makes sense.
I'll log on to the back end of the website some days, and there's 10 people reading the Quantum story from around the world.
Yeah.
Every time somebody new picks up on this V12 Quantum, they share it.
Yeah.
And there's Francois who's building that V12 Hilux says to me today, oh, I've seen your article before. And I was like, oh, that's fantastic. Double Apex is getting out there without even me knowing it.
Nice. I love it when you sit and you talk to someone. I had it with the magazine a few times, and you see something, you go, oh man, we wrote an article on this thing like 12 years ago, and the guy's like, yeah, I know, this is why I bought the car.
Oh like, man, that's incredible.
And it's when you've done something, and you know, to you it was just another article. Is there something you did, but it actually had such an impact on someone's life? You know, that's when you
I can't tell you.
Yeah,
I can tell you the number of times. You know, one at CarMag, it happened a lot because there was a big readership. But this little race car of mine, I have it on my website, and it just started as a small project. I've always thought those things were quite cool, and MX-5s were quite cool because they're rear-wheel drive, they're manual, they have a proper suspension, you know, 4-way disc brakes. It's a nice starting point for a sports car or track car. And subsequently been contacted by so many guys telling me that they bought their MX-5s after reading my articles.
No, makes sense.
And we've become friends since. I've been blown away by the number of chaps that have told me that story. And every time I hear it, I just, you know, I sort of sit back and I go, wow, you know, the stuff that we write, and the things that we say make a difference, you know, and I think for a lot of people who don't realize it, you know, you have a responsibility.
Exactly.
And
so get the information right, people.
Get the information right. Exactly. Get the information right.
Go check out, there's Faster Than Finnegan. It's a US show. It's on Motor Trend.
Oh, yeah.
he took MX-5. Well, in America, they call them
Miatas, yeah.
Yeah. So he took one, stuck a roll cage in it. I think they put NOS on it and they made it a hill climb car.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just quite interesting.
Guys are always sending me MX-5 stuff, which is quite cool.
Yeah,
my race car has its own Facebook page.
Exactly. He says
post stuff on there.
He says the most fun he's ever had was a Miata with turbo, with NOS, big tires and NOS on it. This is the most fun he's ever had in his life. So
hill climb car, I'm gonna look for that. Faster than Finnegan. I'm definitely gonna have a look for that.
All right, listen, I need to get going. Bruce, thank you so much for everything. All the best.
No, it was great fun, mate.
All right, we'll do this again. All right.
We'll do, and I'm going to send you all those links so that you can share it with the listeners and the readers and the viewers. Excellent.
I
look forward to it.
Speak to you later.
Thanks, bud.
Cheers.
Keep well. Ciao.
Bye.